Upper Deck takes you there.
Cousy got the ball. He throws it straight up in the air. It's all over. And there they go. They've won it again.
There was this complete unselfishness. I've seen guys be unselfish once in a while, but in our team, no one really cared to have the glory.
You couldn't ask for more out of life than what we had going for us in Portland. The fans loved us all, and it was a perfect situation.
It was Doc's team. The guys looked to him. Players would respond to him. There was such great respect for Julius.
You are watching what greatness is all about.
I always thought about winning first, not just out there to score points, not just out there to put on a show, but to win. Winning is the most important thing to me because you always remember the winners, you never remember the losers.
The NBA Commemorative Collection presents Champions, the NBA's greatest teams. In the early days of the NBA, there was one player and one team that towered above all others. For George Mikan and his Minneapolis Lakers, the years 1949 to 1954 were undoubtedly the best of times. During that 6-year span, the Lakers captured 5 titles, and Big George would become known as Mr. Basketball.
He was a giant among giants. He was big, bigger and stronger than anybody else.
Standing at 6'10" and weighing 245 pounds, Mikan overwhelmed opponents.
He was a difficult man to move, to budge once he got his spot. And to play behind him was death. I mean, you couldn't stop him.
But Mikan was not only the league's most unstoppable force, he was also its most recognizable figure. And it was not unusual for George to receive top billing, often at the expense of his teammates. But contrary to popular opinion, these Lakers were not a one-man gang. Forwards Jim Pollard and Vern Mickelson were perennial all-stars.
Vern was an awesome physical specimen, man, 6'7", 260, just beat you to death.
While the bruising Mickelson labored in the trenches, the acrobatic Pollard did his work in midair.
We called him the Kangaroo Kid. He had fantastic ability, and he was one of the forerunners of the Michael Jordans and the Elgin Baylors. He could jump and run like a deer.
And with backcourt ace Slater Martin launching set shots from outside, Coach John Cunliffe had a variety of weapons at his disposal. Out of desperation, opposing coaches instructed their players to hold the ball, preventing the Lakers from scoring, slowing the game to a crawl. It was during one such game of keep-away that the Lakers' 29-game home winning streak was snapped.
People were hollering, they wanted their money back and they wanted all that kind of stuff. But the coach Mendenhall from Fort Wayne decided that the only way to beat the Lakers is to take the air out of the ball.
But even holding the ball couldn't stop Mikan's Lakers. After winning the 1954 title, George retired, ending the Minneapolis dynasty. But he and his Lakers had produced not only championships, but change. In 1954, the league adopted a 24-second clock to prevent stalling, ushering in a different style of basketball and paving the way for a new dynasty. When Bill Russell joined the Boston Celtics for the 1957 season, Boston would gain the cornerstone for that dynasty. With Russell in the pivot, controlling the backboards and exhibiting unparalleled mobility for a man of his size, the Celtics unleashed a running attack that was perfectly tailored for the up-tempo game. But Russell was not only the catalyst of the offense, he was the anchor of the defense.
He had such great quickness and agility that he could play 3 or 4 guys on the same trip up the court, switch off, go back to his own man, block a shot. So he would disrupt their whole entire offense.
I can remember playing against him in the 4th quarter, and I went in for 4 layups in the 4th quarter. He blocked the first 2, and I missed the next 2 looking for him.
The guy comes in, and you block the shot, and then you go down and you get an easy layup. These things make statements. And then you might look at him and smile and say, yes, we did that to you.
I think Russell was the foxiest, smartest, meanest player psychologically that ever played the game. Whatever it took to win, Russell would do.
If Russell was the foundation of the new Celtics, then Coach Red Auerbach was their visionary architect.
Styles of play have changed too, making for a more aggressive, crowd-pleasing brand of ball. The key to this new style of play is the fast break, where every action is directed to moving the ball into scoring position before the defense has a chance to get set.
The man to whom Auerbach would entrust this new-look offense was Bob Cousy, the unorthodox playmaker who made purists cringe.
Arnold's position was always, hey, you want to pass a little differently or whatever, that's fine as long as it works.
And it usually did, as Cousy proved to be an uncanny passer whose flamboyance did not hinder his accuracy.
If you want somebody to run your fast break, get the rebound and run your fast break, no one did it like Cousy.
With Cousy and Russell, the Celtics possessed the NBA's most spectacular running attack. But Boston's offense was not limited to the fast break. Perennial All-Star Bill Sharman gave them deadly perimeter shooting, teaming with Cousy to form the league's best backcourt. While the Tommy gun, Tom Heinsohn, was a high-scoring forward who would take and make shots from all angles. Frank Ramsey gave them instant offense off the bench as one of the game's first 6th men. And with the Joneses in reserve, Sam, the great clutch shooter, and KC, the defensive stopper, Red Auerbach had a team that was loaded with talent and primed to overwhelm even the most formidable opponents.
I had to worry about the Celtics. I didn't have to worry about guarding Bill Russell. I had to worry about Cousy, Ramsey, Heinsohn, Sam Jones, Casey Jones. They had just too many guns.
The Celtics began to hang championship banners with regularity, completely dominating the league. They owed their continued success not only to the players' talent, but also to their unique philosophy.
Red would tell you, you do the job for us, you will be here for your entire career. It was a big deal for a guy to be able to buy a house and live and bring his kids up in a community, all right? It got to the point where everybody believed him, and you would train your replacement. Now that's unheard of in pro sports, where you would train your replacement because you had this feeling of loyalty to the ball club.
Younger Celtics would eventually supplant their aging mentors. Sam and KC replaced Cousy and Sharman in the backcourt. Satch Sanders became a fixture at forward. And John Havlicek emerged as Boston's new 6th man. Some things, however, remained unchanged. There was Bill Russell's intimidating presence, Red Auerbach's watchful eyes, and, of course, championships to celebrate.
And the buzzer goes off, it's all over. The Boston Celtics are once again the world champions.
Through each new training camp, Boston's drive to win another title remained undimmed.
I used to tell them, you won a championship last year, you had a good summer. You went around all over, people look at you, you're a world champion. You're a member of the greatest basketball team in the world. I said, isn't that a lot of fun? I said, so let's go out and get the job done. We got the players, let's win it again.
From 1957 to 1969, the Celtics had little trouble following Red's advice as they won an astonishing 11 championships in 13 seasons. Piling up title after title, they built an aura of invincibility.
You know somehow, I don't care what kind of lead you have, how the game is going, somehow it's like magic, they seem to pull it out.
Come playoff time, the resourceful Celtics seemed to have an answer for every situation, whether it was Cousy dribbling out the clock in 1962.
And there they go. They've won it again.
Havlicek protecting their lead in 1965.
Greer's putting the ball on a play. He gets it out deep, and Havlicek steals it over the stand zone. Havlicek stole the ball. It's all over. It's all over.
Or Sam Jones hitting his game-winning shot in 1969. The postseason belonged to Boston for over a decade, as the Celtics' indomitable will helped them forge a legacy of unequaled success.
Guys like Sam and Havlicek, Heinsohn, Cousy, Sharman, Ramsey, Satch, Casey. These guys wanted to win every game, every year. We didn't have to find something external to want to win. It came from within our team.
Bill Russell's retirement at the conclusion of the 1969 season would signify the end of the Celtic era. Now, a different kind of team would step forward, one not built around a dominant player, but rather a shared philosophy.
Everyone was mature enough to recognize that none of us would be as strong individually as all of us were together.
Playing unselfishly was the foundation of their success. Following the guidelines of their coach, William Red Holzman, they adhere to an egalitarian system whose principles were straightforward.
The open man philosophy, hitting the open man, not looking at who's in the uniform, but when you see a white shirt open, get the ball to that man.
It was a style of play that was ideally suited for the sharpshooting Knicks.
I think we had one of the most unique teams in NBA history because all 5 players were good perimeter shooters. You usually don't find that on a team.
With their big men as dangerous from long range as their guards, the Knicks stretched defenses to the breaking point and were impossible to stop with the game on the line.
Any player on our team would be willing to take the last second shot. You see some players on some teams, there will only be 1 or 2 players who'll be willing to take the last second shot because all the burden is on your shoulders, right? They don't want the ball. Throw it, get it away from me. You know, it's like it's hot. Don't they throw it and throw it back. But on our team, everyone was able and did from time to time take that last second shot.
The concept of shared responsibility was also the foundation of the Knick defense.
Everything was involved around team defense, not a man defense. When a guy scored, he scored against the team, not an individual.
What we try to do is take a team that had a weakness, try to exploit it. If a guy would not pass the basketball, if a guy took the basketball and he turned his back and things like that, so we would try to go and trap the basketball on him and do those kinds of things.
But for the Knicks, defense was more than just a science. It was a passion, and it would become their rallying cry.
When they started to chant the defense, I felt that I would do something to steal the ball. I was that psyched up that I could make it happen. Certain nights I thought we would fall downstairs in the garden. This place was rocking, so everyone would be jumping and stomping and making noise. I can recall times late in the third quarter, we were out of the game, the starting 5, because we had such a tremendous lead. And all of that was predicated on defense.
The Knicks were a team in perfect sync as they cruised to the league's best record, advancing through the playoffs as expected. They made their way towards a climactic finals battle with the awesomely talented Lakers. The unstoppable Wilt Chamberlain, the spectacular Elgin Baylor, and the deadly Jerry West. These 3 legendary superstars would issue the ultimate challenge to the Knick team concept. With league MVP Willis Reed and the mammoth Chamberlain battling to a standstill, the teams would split the first 4 games. But in the pivotal 5th game, the delicately balanced Knicks were thrown suddenly into chaos.
And Willis is hurt.
I was thinking, well, there goes the championship.
Willis was the backbone of the team, and without him, I didn't see any way that we could contain Chamberlain.
The Knicks, under any ordinary circumstances, not considered a big basketball team. And right now, they are a very small basketball team with 6'6.5" Dave DeBusschere at center against 7'1" Wilt Chamberlain.
All I tried to do was just stay between him and the basket and hope that, we'd get help from somebody on the side or out front, because there's nothing you can do with Wilt one-on-one.
But one-on-one was not how these Knicks played. They would defend Chamberlain as a team, confusing him and rattling the stunned Lakers.
It's loose, taken by Garrett of the Lakers. He bullets one down court, that is intercepted by DeBusschere. Fast break for the Knicks. DeBusschere on the drive. Leads Reardon, driving shot is good. Incredible defense by the Knicks. Garrett loses to Frazier. He's ahead of the field. He's down the lane. Scoops and hits.
The Knicks would beat the Lakers that night, defying logic with a stubborn belief in each other. And though they would lose Game 6 in L.A., as Reed watched from the bench in street clothes, in the decisive 7th game, they would once again find strength in each other.
When the team left the locker room, nobody knew if Willis was going to come out.
The big question is, will Willis Reed play tonight? There is tremendous doubt right now.
There he is, he appears.
Here comes Willis.
He hits his first 2 shots.
Side of the lane, outside Reed, jumps from 20. Yes! Willis has hit on his first 2.
And that tells us all we can do this. And we did.
West across the midcourt, loses to Frazier, dives ahead of the field down.
Though Willis would not score again, he would not need to. He had inspired his teammates, and they would do the rest.
Frazier, top of the key, outside DeBusschere, in the corner Frazier, he drives, DeBarnett for a jump, yes!
You know, at different points and times, there were always somebody to step forward or to say the right thing, to do the right thing. I mean, I think that's the kind of team we were.
For the Los Angeles Lakers, this was an all too familiar scene. Though they had reached the finals 7 of the last 9 years, each trip had ended in agonizing defeat.
It was the most disgusting personal period I've ever had in my life. I wanted to win a championship, and I really didn't think that was ever going to happen.
With Elgin Baylor's retirement prior to the 1972 season, it began to look like time had passed the aging Lakers by.
Now I'm playing with a Laker team that has the great Jerry West, who was in his twilight, and Wilt Chamberlain, who was in his twilight, and Gail Goodrich, as far as was the star of the team, and names that you would not even know. I can't even tell you who the heck they were. You understand? We did not have this awesome talent.
Now a less overpowering team, these Lakers would have to redefine their roles. And newly appointed captain Wilt Chamberlain would lead the way.
I was now the defensive hub of this team, and that was what my job was all about, getting the ball and playing defense and giving the ball to these guys. So it just kind of all worked out really, really well. And as we meshed, we amassed numbers that were unbelievable.
Playing off Wilt, the other Lakers were each at the top of their games, and none flourished more than Goodrich and West, combining to score over 52 points per game. They made the Lakers almost impossible to stop.
All of a sudden, this team started winning basketball games. And we went along and went along and went along. 1 month went by, 2 months went by.
When you get to 17, 18, 19 wins, now people are saying, like, wow, can they ever lose?
Piling up victory after victory, the Lakers became more cohesive with every game.
We did everything the way the coach wanted, and everything worked for us. And it got to be almost funny because we knew no one could beat us. I mean, we felt invincible.
For 33 straight contests, the Lakers were invincible as they compiled a modern-day sports record win streak. They would go on to win 69 regular season games, the most in NBA history. But the Laker veterans knew that the postseason would be their time of judgment.
I always felt that Wilt, in some respects, has gotten a bum rap for not winning more championships. Wilt Chamberlain, like Jerry West, was probably the best runner-up in most occasions.
Despite their magnificent season, these Lakers knew that if they failed to lift their finals hex, they would be remembered only as losers. As they had in 1970, they would face the Knicks. But this year, there would be no miracle upsets. The Lakers were also Rands no longer, dispatching New York in 5 games. They would go down in history as one of the NBA's greatest winners.
Goodrich passes under to Wilt. He's got it. He puts it up and slams dunk.
This was something that I'd hoped and wished for in the earlier days of my career. It was wonderful. We finally won.
For that Laker team to do what they did, I still think that they did more in the game of basketball than any other team for the talent that they had.
In his younger days, Chamberlain would provide the crucial element for another team, one, however, that was not about overachieving.
The best team I ever played for was the Philadelphia 76ers. We had the ultimate and a power forward in Luke Jackson. We had the greatest one-on-one player in Chet Walker playing the other forward.
Along with Chamberlain, Jackson and Walker comprised history's most star-studded front line. While at guard, the explosive Wally Jones and pure shooting Hal Greer formed an almost equally formidable backcourt.
Now, when you have all that going for you, then you have something that had just started to become established in the NBA, and that was the sixth man.
My responsibility was to come in and, in most cases, give a spark offensively for the ball club.
With Cunningham leading a deep Philly bench, the Sixers were stocked with superstars.
We just had balance. We had everything that a team would need, a team that you could dream about to be the perfect team, and we had a team like that.
But talent alone was not enough to end the Celtics' decade-long championship reign. The Sixers would need something more.
The key word there is an overused word, but is chemistry. But you got this team and me in the center, and we've been together now for a couple of years. It just all really came together. I think our first 44 games, we were 41-3.
The NBA's scoring champion for 7 seasons, Wilt would now sacrifice his offensive output to lead a more balanced attack. The Sixers' anchor on both ends of the floor. He would set the tone for their new unselfish style of play.
He was a leader, and he led by example. Whenever he said he would do something or set a goal, he would do it.
Recording an unprecedented 68-win season, the Sixers readied themselves to achieve their ultimate goal.
And it was like everyone knew, this is it. You know, there's no chance. We're gonna beat the Celtics.
The fanatically confident Sixers would devastate the Celtics, gaining vengeance on their nemesis and convincingly ending an era of Celtic postseason supremacy.
The Celtics on the brink of defeat for the first time since 1956. Gamely trying, but they did not have it here in the second half.
The finals would be a mere formality. The first team other than the Celtics to win a championship in a decade. The Sixers completed the transformation from a collection of all-stars to one of the greatest teams in NBA history. Spring 1969 and the future of 2 teams hinged on a coin flip.
The coin has come up tails.
And so in their second year of existence, the expansion Milwaukee Bucks acquired the draft rights to Lou Alcindor. Likening him to Chamberlain, experts predicted that he would transform the young Bucks into instant contenders. He did not disappoint. Averaging 29 points a game, he would lead Milwaukee to a 56-win season. The following year, legendary guard Oscar Robertson would join the team in a trade that would send expectations soaring.
I joined the Bucks. I knew we were going to win the championship that year. As soon as I got there. Destiny, confidence. I just knew we were going to win.
Well, when I heard that Oscar was coming to play with the Bucks, I was very happy. I thought that really made it easy for us to win because of his abilities at both ends of the court. Getting to work with him every day really helped me see his greatness.
With the Big O controlling the game from the perimeter, and Big Lou unstoppable down low.
To the middle of Lou, he's got it inside of Unseld, he stops the ball, 2 more!
The Bucks laid waste to the rest of the NBA, compiling a league best 66 and 16 record. Steamrolling to the conference finals, the Bucks reached a much anticipated confrontation with Wilt Chamberlain's Lakers. It proved to be no contest.
Boozer dumps it low left to Lou. He's got the ball in the hand, about waist high. He turns, right hand hook, and then!
Al Cindor and his Bucks romped to a decisive 5-game victory that left no one unconvinced.
Well, I think they had all the parts. You know, when you have an Oscar Robertson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that's a nice duo to build around.
Unseld would witness this duo at its devastating best, crushing his Bullets 4 games to none. The Bucks would become only the second team in history to sweep the finals. In 3 short years, they had gone from expansion team to one of the NBA's greatest champions.
Down low left side from Oscar to Lou. Great fake. Lou slams it through. He turned back to his right, then came back to his left and jammed it down. Not enough what they have given Oscar Robertson, Lou Cindor. What a year it has been. The Bucks are the world champions.
The most celebrated draft choice since Lou Cindor, Bill Walton would join the young Portland Trailblazer franchise in 1975, hailed as an instant savior. But 2 years of injuries would leave these expectations painfully unfulfilled. Enter new coach, Jack Ramsey.
Portland had never been in the playoffs, so our goal was to reach the playoffs, really, the first year.
Preparing for the 1977 season, he would build his team around a finally healthy Walton.
I'm not the type of player that you just give the ball to and get out of my way and I make one-on-one moves. That's not the type of game I play. I start my game with my defense, and offensively my game is based on movement and teamwork and passing the ball around.
Taking full advantage of Walton's varied skills, Ramsey would install a fast-breaking ball movement offense.
It was a team that played together well. They ran the break very well. They were unselfish. I'm not sure that team didn't score more layups than any team in the history of the game.
It was a team that would be passionately embraced by its city. A frenzy of Blazer mania would sweep through Portland. And at the center of it all was Bill Walton.
Bill Walton at that time was, I think, the best center playing basketball in the NBA, considering all aspects of the game.
For the Blazers, everything began with Walton. And for that year, he was one of the greatest centers ever to play.
I've never seen anybody do it like him. When the big redhead was right, he was right.
The young Blazers would burst into the postseason, gaining confidence with every game.
Once we got by Chicago in the first round, then got by Denver in the second round, we started to think, who knows?
In the conference finals, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and his division champion Lakers were prepared to end Portland's Cinderella season. The Trailblazers were undaunted.
Well, it was a tremendous victory and accomplishment for our team to sweep the Lakers. We were really rolling at that point. We had tremendous self-confidence.
That confidence would be sorely tested as they dropped the first 2 games of the finals to the powerful 76ers.
When we got back to Portland down 2-0, we were pretty depressed. I think the thing that stands out the most in bringing the team back was the fans' response in Portland. Those fans were ready for blood. They were not going to let us lose.
Revitalized by their fans, the emotionally charged Blazers surged back into the series. Manhandling the Sixers, they would sweep the next 4 games, bringing Portland to championship and dramatically capping their phenomenal season.
Johnny Davis, hands off, look at the guy. The Trailblazers have won the World
I've never coached a better player, I've never coached a better competitor, and I've never coached a better person than Bill Walton.
But while the Blazers celebrated, in the other locker room, the Philadelphia 76ers were beginning an odyssey of failed expectations.
It's over, and the most valuable player is Magic Johnson. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship over Philadelphia without Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Bobby Jones is going to put the ball in play. And the pass hits the top of the backboard, and it's over. They won 3 in a row. They came from 3 and 1 down, and they have won the series. It's all over.
Lakers start the countdown. 4, 3, 2, 1. The Lakers are the world champions.
I don't look at the championship as being something that Philadelphia lost. You know, Philadelphia didn't have the championship in the first place. I mean, you can't lose something unless you have it. It just didn't happen, and the decision was made, you know, we need one guy who's going to be there for 38, 40 minutes a night, and we went and got the hard hat to do it.
They would acquire the NBA's premier blue-collar worker, center Moses Malone, the relentless force who had single-handedly carried the mediocre Houston Rockets to the finals 2 years before.
When we made that trade, you could just see the change in the whole team. They understood, they knew this is the man. And he was on a mission, and he had come to Philadelphia to get a ring.
Moses would make his presence felt immediately.
We had already established ourselves as a premier team, and one of the things we were really looking for was a title, and everyone felt in our hearts once we got Moses, we could reach that goal.
From the outset, it was apparent that the 1983 Sixers had found a killer instinct. With Moses leading them, they would go for the jugular in every contest.
Philadelphia on the break, looking to take the lead. They will. Chiefs. Erving. Look out. To Chiefs.
You know, when our team was healthy, nobody can beat us.
Robertson. Worthy against Malone. Pass is deflected. Going to be stolen, I think, by the doctor. Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. Way rock the baby.
As the Sixers stormed to the division title, Philly fans were confident that this would finally be their year.
Little Mo, Big Mo, the doctor, Andrew Toney, and Ivoroni. No baloney. Sixers all the way.
But no one was more confident than Moses, who issued a bold guarantee that Philly would not lose a game in the postseason. And in the first round against the Knicks, he would back it up.
Oh, brother! And not much you can say about that. Ooh.
Milwaukee would be the next to fall victim to the possessed Sixers.
Wow, good moves and blocked from behind. Dr. J. Blocked by Julius.
And though Philly would eventually drop one contest, they continued to gain momentum and admirers.
This is the best team that I've seen in 10 years. I can't see any team touching the Sixers. I really can't.
The defending champion Lakers were ready to prove Nelson wrong as their fans called for the Sixers' customary finals swoop. But as the series began in Philadelphia, Sixer fans were sure that this year would be different. Philly would reward their fate by trampling LA in the first 2 games.
On one break for Philly. Here's the doctor. And both seats down court to Julius. To Bobby Jones. Billy Cunningham's team
is halfway there.
We want to end it in 4. We want someone to remember this team.
Kareem and the Lakers looked to regroup in L.A., but as he had all year long, Moses refused to allow the Sixers to let up. Philly's season-long mission was almost at an end, and Moses was not to be denied.
Malone going in, the basket counts, and he is not to be stopped, and he is determined.
Fittingly, it would be the doctor who would seal their triumph.
By the doctor, and here he comes.
They steal the ball. There it goes. Cheeks on his way to the World Championship. To Moses, slammed up.
I look at the guys who I played with and the trials that we went through, and a lot of the testing of the character, made me a better person, made us all better people, because we really believed in ourselves, and there was a chemistry there and a spiritual harmony that just made that the best team that I ever played on or was ever associated with, and that's special.
One thing about this team that they should be remembered for is they've been knocked down a lot. They've been criticized in every way, every shape, every form possible, but they had the ability every year to come back and just keep on doing it, and keep on doing it, and darn it, they climbed the mountain.
In 1986, the keeper of the Celtic flame, Red Auerbach, would once again assemble the league's premier cast of players. Not built around an intimidating center, this team would be led by a different kind of player, one who dominated not with physical talent, but rather with his unique feel for the game.
Here's a guy diving after loose balls. He can't run fast. In fact, he's slow. You go there after the big offensive rebound, put it back in. He can't jump. He's going to give you anywhere from 25 points a game up to 50. And he's going to give you assists. And he's going to put in the buzzer beater, the game buster.
Got it! Ball game's over. Boston wins.
He come every game not to play, but to win.
He kind of sets the tone, and a lot of time sets the mood of the team with his player, his attitude. It's similar to a flock of geese. If you have one leader, the rest of the geese kind of follow in, and Larry Bird's really our leader.
Each all-stars in their own right, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, and Kevin McHale, were also perfect extensions of Bird's winning above all else approach to the game.
No one's ego gets in the way. Nobody cares who shoots the ball or who has to pass the ball or who's getting the rebounds, just as long as the job's getting done, and who gets the glory and all the accolades are unimportant. Winning the championship is the only thing that's important to us.
Having played together for over 2 full seasons, the Celtics starting 5 had become the league's most cohesive unit. But this season, a 6th man would be added.
I orchestrated a trade of myself to the Celtics because I wanted to play with the best basketball players in the league.
In Boston, Walton would once again find a team for which he was ideally suited. Though no longer a centerpiece, he was now a perfect complement.
Great pass by Walton on the cutting Larry Bird.
Melding seamlessly with his teammates, he would ignite them with his enthusiasm.
Really, but battling for it like a young pup is Bill Walton. To McHale.
And there's nights during the regular season where no one felt like playing. I mean, we just had traveled maybe our 4th game in 6 nights, and we're tired, we're on the road, and I'm sitting in the locker room going oh, wow, I don't want to do this tonight. And he comes running in yelling, you don't want it, you don't want to play, no one wants to play, and he kind of fires you up.
Embodying both Walton's fiery passion and Bird's icy intensity, the 1986 Celtics would achieve one of the most finely balanced chemistries in basketball history. And at its core was a total dedication to their common goal.
Goes down, Larry Bird dives for a loose ball and gets it to McHale.
I think the one key ingredient to making us, each of us, a good basketball player is that we come to win every night. We don't take a night off.
Game after game, the Celtics destroyed their opponents and enjoyed doing it.
It's much more fun in sports when you perceive going in what you're going to do, and then you go out and do it. Upsets are not nearly as much fun as going in and, hey, we're gonna come in here and take some names, and we just did it.
And nowhere did they do it with more savage intensity than beneath the banners of hallowed Boston Garden.
And you squint your eyes and you get that killer look on your face, and you hate losing, and you love winning, and you want no one coming in and beating you.
Losing only one game in the Garden all season, they posted the best home record in NBA history and proudly upheld their illustrious tradition.
Guys that make all that mystique and pride and is John Havlicek, Russell, and all them guys that played before us. They set the tone, and we're just trying to keep everything going in the right direction.
They would do more than that, demoralizing opponents like the Celtics of old.
That's just a great basketball team over there in green.
Boston would thoroughly dominate the playoffs, dropping only one game en route to a final series with the Houston Rockets. That was less a contest than a coronation.
Bird picks it up, goes in a three-point land. Hold up a three-pointer. He's net. They swing it around to Walton on the right side, off the glass, and gone! Bill Walton makes it a 28-point.
The only thing I can say for this team is that if there's any other team that was any better, them guys on that team would be very proud of what they accomplished, because we felt we had a pretty good basketball team.
You did it with hard work and teamwork. You've earned it. It's yours. Enjoy it.
Although they did not win a championship, the Houston Rockets had emerged as the premier force in the West with a dramatic victory in the conference final.
It's over!
Experts decreed that the sun had set on the Laker dynasty.
I was trying to convey to the players that I think everybody wanted to see just how total this was. Everybody wanted to see just exactly how over the hill we were. Everybody wants to see your demise.
Take it back, Dave.
Los Angeles went back to basics, rededicating themselves to what had been at the core of their success.
I mean, stay tough. Stay tough. That's what it's about.
For the Lakers, the 1987 season didn't just start, it erupted as this seemingly possessed team ran roughshod over the rest of the NBA.
Cooper, the lob to Coop, slammed up. Magic couldn't draw it better on a blackboard.
I'm real hungry, you know. It's like you haven't eaten in a while.
LA's drive to prove their critics wrong was in full gear, and at the helm was the irrepressible Magic Johnson.
Woo! How did he sing?
The Magic Man has eyes all around his head.
But this year, Coach Pat Riley would ask for even more.
The conversation that I had with Magic was very straightforward. You know, I want you to become more offensive-minded because it's going to make the team win.
Magic promptly responded, amazing all who watched him.
Magic Johnson was born to be great, and he possesses almost every quality that you would want in a basketball player.
With his compelling play, he would lead the Lakers to the league's best record, garnering MVP honors along the way. As the Lakers' playoff assault began, defensive stopper Michael Cooper aggressively disarmed the Golden State Warriors.
Why he's such a great defensive player, the Magic.
It's an attitude where you have to take a one and go out there and devour an individual, get up in his jersey and totally take him out of his ball game.
You have to leave some type of message, not anything cocky or arrogant, but you have to leave some type of message when you play those teams.
Against Seattle, Worthy's message was devastating as his scoring barrage overwhelmed the Sonics. and the Lakers marched into the finals to meet an old nemesis. Emerging force Byron Scott would boldly make his impact felt. And behind the resounding play of this fourth-year guard, the Lakers dominated the series' first 2 games.
They did everything I expected, and we had the perfect plan. It didn't work.
As the scene shifted, 2 basketball immortals would take center stage.
You know, nobody gets you up more than Boston. As long as Larry's on the other side and I'm on this side, it's going to always be that.
The dead-eye shooting of Larry Bird helped Boston capture Game 3, and with this clutch jumper, Game 4 also seemed in hand. But in this magical Lakers season, Johnson would have the final word.
Magic with a hook shot, scores with 2. And the Lakers have won in Pat Riley, and the Lakers dance off the
Back
court.
in L.A., another living legend would deal the final blow. Showing no signs of age, the 40-year-old Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would score 32 points and wrap up the Lakers championship.
Dennis Johnson has his shot blocked by Kareem. Here's Worthy.
For most teams, a title would have meant vindication, but for the Lakers, it was not enough.
I feel grateful to be alive and living in Los Angeles, and I'm guaranteeing everybody here, next year we're going to win it again.
The guarantee had been issued, and although history was not on their side, talent was.
Well, we had the team and the players to repeat. Now we just have to do it on the floor.
And once again, LA ruled the regular season. But in the playoffs, everyone was gunning for the Lakers, and they would need 7 games to fend off a tenacious Utah team.
The Lakers are out of timeouts. No timeouts left. The ball to Magic. Dribble drive. Down the middle. Out to Coop. 18-footer. Good! Ladies and gentlemen, it'll be the Lakers in Dallas.
A hungry Dallas team pushed the Lakers to the limit, and again, LA would respond.
Worthy dribble drive. Worthy feeds the ball to Scott. A three-pointer. Good! So the Los Angeles Lakers are 4 victories away from becoming the first team since 1969 to repeat.
Now on the threshold of history, one final obstacle remained. The Lakers' 2-year journey would end here, and victory would be theirs.
There's no other team that has come close to what we're doing in 20 years. We're playing for the World Championship, but yet we're playing for history.
Earning a special place in the annals of basketball, the Lakers became only the 3rd team in NBA history to win consecutive titles.
If the criteria for greatness is to win back-to-back championships, then that's what this season is about.
The Lakers' quest was complete as they celebrated a triumph for the ages.
Back to back! Yeah! Yeah! And you know that.